Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to yet another episode of my Let's Play Factorio series, where the goal is to build a 1000 science pack per minute tiled mega base. And in today's episode we will be building the oil tile. So without wasting any minute, let's talk numbers. Okay, so I've actually switched over to Factorio Lab to get my numbers for my mega base because Exterminator made a video about it, and I didn't know about it. I was using the Factorio calculator, but this one is more intuitive and easier to use, and it's easier to take into account the productivity modules. So looking at the numbers again, it turns out that we actually only need about 60,000 copper plates a minute and about 80,000 iron plates a minute, whereas before, if we look here, I was at about 170,000 plates a minute. So I've updated my chart right here with the correct numbers, and what we'll be focusing on today is this whole part of my chart, so all the oil setup. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, guys, is that before I planned to have a train running across the base that was only carrying sulfur, but looking at the number again with the new calculator, it turns out that we only need about 500 sulfur every minute, and because it's a very small number, I decided to switch over and produce the sulfur on site. And there's actually just two tiles that are going to require sulfur. The first one is the acid tile, and the second one is the blue science tile. So in both instances, we will be bringing the petroleum into the tile and producing the sulfur on site. And this is what I've come up with. So this is a very basic oil build that's converting crude oil into light, heavy and petroleum, and I've also added a small chemical plant right here to convert heavy oil into lubricant. Now, looking at the production statistics for the fluids per minute, you can see that this small build is sufficient to power my whole mega base. Should be. Now, if we take this and incorporate it into a tile, this is what we get. So the build is right here. We also have the PAX trains here, the fuel train coming in right here, and my trains will be stopping here. So looking at it again, the only thing worth noting here is that we are not making anything out of the heavy oil. Actually, it's just gonna be staying here. The only oil that will be transported over train is the petroleum, the light to produce the rocket fuel later on, and the petroleum which we'll be using to make plastic and acid. And this small train right here will be for the lubricant, since we only need 2000 lubricant every minute, and one storage tank one fluid wagon can hold 25,000 units of liquid. One of those trains, so just a 1x2 train, will last a long time, and in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to have one of those trains, because those can carry, so one wagon is 25,000 units, so 4 wagons is 100,000 units, and we only need 2,000 units every minute. So this would be a bit overkill for the amount of lubricant that we need. Yep, and I couldn't fit the plastic and the acid build into this tile, so we'll have a separate tile that will be producing plastic and acid. And here you can see the plastic build. So again, pretty straightforward. We're simply bringing in the coal and the petroleum from the oil tile into this tile, and it's simply going to produce some plastic. So this is really nice. It's balanced on both sides, here and here. And what I like about this, as you can see, I used the belts. I could have used bots to transport the resources into the production facilities, But like I said, the challenge here is to use belts because it takes more space and you have to cram it into the tile, where we are working with a limited space, which makes the whole thing more interesting. And I also like to watch the resources on the belts. It gives you a nice representation of what's actually going on. And as you can see, we are belting everything inside the factory and bringing out some plastic. So I can have show you a close look if you guys want. Yeah, I had to walk around with the limited space to bring everything inside the factory. Now, if we look at the production statistics for this guy right here, you can see that it's producing 20,000 plastic per minute, and that is what we, according to my chart, that is what we need. And actually, if we look back at the Factorio calculator, we needed about 16,000 and something, and I rounded it up to 20,000. So this is more than enough to feed the whole base. Now here is the acid production. As you can see, it's very small, but this little guy right here produces where is it, 25,000 sulfuric acid every minute, which is what we need for the mega base. So this little guy right here should produce what we need to power the whole thing. We'll be bringing in the petroleum by train, water will be provided on site, and yeah, we'll simply bring it into belt, putting we have two factories producing sulfur, putting it on belts and feeding it right into this little guy right here. And now here's the tile for both the plastic and the acid build. I managed to fit them both inside one tile. It was a bit tricky, but it turned out well in the end. The acid tile, acid facility is right here, and the plastic facility right here. And this was a bit tricky to fit into the tile because we need 3 trains for both production, which means a total of 6 trains plus the stackers. And yep, here they are, and they actually fit perfectly inside that one tile. So now let's actually go into the main world and build both those tiles. Okay guys, so now that we've sussed out the logic behind the oil production, let's actually go ahead and build the things. So we actually need to have water for the oil production and for the acid production, which means that those 2 tiles will need to be close to a lake. And the only place we have lakes at the moment is up here and down here. And I'm thinking about placing my oil build right here next to the nuclear reactor, so that we have water directly inside my tile. And then the acid and the plastic build will be, I think, right here, and again we'll have the water directly inside the tile, so I won't have to bring it in by train. So let me actually start building those, and I'll get back to you in a minute. there it is, guys. So if you look at the map right now, you can see that I finished building the oil tile as well as the plastic tile. Now they are only missing the beacons and a few modules, but other than that they are operational. So now that we are producing some light oil, I was thinking about starting the production of some nuclear fuel, because they are made out of rocket fuel, which is made out of light oil. And now rocket fuel, sorry, I'm talking about nuclear fuel. These guys take a long time to make. Like if you look at the recipe, it takes 1.5 minutes to craft just one of those, and these guys don't stack. Now a train has 3 fuel slots, and because the nuclear fuel doesn't stack, it means that it can only hold 3 nuclear fuel in one train. But again, if you look at the fuel values for the nuclear fuel, it has a fuel value of 1.21 gigajoule, whereas normal rocket fuel only has 100 megajoules. So that means that in theory these guys are 10 times as efficient as these guys, which is quite a big upgrade. And also they give a huge acceleration to the vehicle. Like if you compare those, so these are only 180%, whereas these provide 250% acceleration. And acceleration is going to matter in this space, because we don't have much space for the train to accelerate if they're going from one tile to the next. Also, also looking at my uranium chest, it's currently full, and that's why my centrifuges have stopped working. Even though the nuclear reactor is still running and consuming nuclear rods at a constant rate, we still have a backlog of uranium, so might as well use it. 1 uranium makes 1 nuclear fuel. So let's go ahead and build a nuclear fuel factory. And there it is, guys. So it's pretty simple setup. It's just so slow to produce, so I put some speed modules inside those, but once the fuel is inside the train, they will last for a long time, so should be fine. I had to go around each existing tile and change the filters to nuclear fuel, and also for the fuel stop. And also, by the way, I forgot to put a limit on those stations, so these chests were full of the old fuel, the normal rocket fuel, and that's why I put them here to reprocess them into the nuclear fuel. So anyways guys, that's all the time I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed watching this episode, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers!